gathered here today to listen, to learn, and to be inspired to save little lives. So on behalf of the Unforgettables Foundation, I'm very happy to welcome all of you to our second annual Children and Families in Crisis Conference.
Today we're here to honor children. We're here to honor children whose lives have been altered or even lost by circumstances and events beyond their control. Children who have been denied the basic cares we assume that parents provide their offspring. We're here to learn and share our experiences and knowledge, but we're not here to feel discouraged or feel unempowered. The topic I'm going to present on it is not a pleasant one, and for most of us, this is just too horrible to hear.
In that category of protecting the public, there is nothing more important than protecting our children, most vulnerable. As a deputy DA, I spent 5 years working in our sexual assault child abuse unit. And I sort of came up in our office working on these cases, and I understand firsthand both how important they are and also how difficult they can be if you don't have the right people in place, if you don't have the right approach.
And she came to me and more than several times and said, we are having a huge problem that's behind closed doors, it's behind curtains, and nobody wants to really talk about it. She was working with these two detectives at the Ontario Police Department, and they were uncovering what we now call, in my office, modern slavery, where these young girls, and there's boys at times, but most of the time young girls, they're being trafficked as young as 8 years old.
You will hear today from our panelists the process and the teamwork that it takes every day so that these voiceless children that have been abused or neglected can be protected and healed. I used a very powerful word there, epidemic. Unfortunately, we will share with you today why there is an epidemic. Our facility has served over 20,000 children since it opened 28 years ago.
A child makes an initial disclosure, whether it be to a friend, a teacher, their parent. Somebody has to listen, going along with what Dr. Matthew stated. Somebody has to listen to the children. And when that child makes that disclosure, hopefully someone does listen and law enforcement gets involved. And they work closely with the Barbara Thrasher Center to do the forensic interviews. And they're really important for our cases because it's an open-ended question. It lets the child lead and let the child disclose at their own rate.
Domestic violence, and I remember a case that Sammy and I worked together. We had just met each other, and it was a little child who was about 3 or 4, and she had witnessed domestic violence between her parents. So we decided to kind of do a team approach and do something a little different and bring the child in for a forensic interview where we were able to memorialize on video the child reenacting what she saw happen with her parents. And this is you really want to capture this on a video versus just something that you're expressing, because a jury is able to actually see a child reenact what they have witnessed.
A lot of times with children, the term normal to be normal is used because a lot of children, because of the late disclosure, may not have findings. So that's why it's so important for us to recognize the signs of abuse to where these children, if possible, can have acute exams done.
Most of the issues that we see, obviously the kids come in depressed, they could be anxious, they're having school problems, they're self-mutilating, a lot of that, and they just are not doing, they're just poorly functioning in their lives. So the intake coordinator, as John mentioned, sets up an appointment with the child and designates a therapist, and each therapist is responsible to create a customized, individualized treatment plan for that child and that family. Because we wholeheartedly believe it's not just the child has to be best served within the context of the family.
And that was the defining moment for the next, I would say, 15 years of life, is that coming from your own mother, who's the one person who's supposed to protect you more than any person, who raises you and says, if anybody, ever harms you, you come to me. You come to me and I will protect you. There's parents in this room right now, you've all had this talk with your kids. Don't let anybody touch you. Don't let anybody make you uncomfortable. You come to me. My mom was no exception. She told me the same thing. But when I came to her, I got sent to foster care. And foster care is what led me to Riverside. So I spent the next 3 years moving through over 22 homes.
Help. I need help. I want to honor my child. I want to pay. I want to give them a dignified funeral and burial. I need your help. Losing a child, the medical equivalent would be you in the ICU with tubes in and out of you on life support. Because that's what you feel like. You feel like you're dying. Or you've already died and there's some other part of you that's still walking around, going through the motions.
When you're putting on an event, how it's all going to pan out. Our committee's put in a number of months, and you just never really know until the moment, right? And I think all of us are smiling because we feel like it has really been a worthwhile day. And for a little cause that is always about reacting to a phone call, to a plea for help, to a situation that has happened previously, it's sure great to be on the other side as well, to be on the preventive, proactive side. So that's why this is so important to us. Last year we concluded the event with the ceremony. We've done it at the Wrong Doghouse in Loma Linda for 15 years because mothers and families who have lost children always told me that they never wanted the memory forgotten. And one of the ways we do that is by keeping their names alive.